Hello, welcome to the Fifth Star. I'm Jamie,
And I'm Albert.
and this is a podcast where we're trying to find our next 5-star movie. And when we find that movie, this podcast will walk through a door into the past and never come back.
So on this episode, we are reviewing A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. And it stars Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie. They're two single people who meet at a mutual friend's wedding and kind of fall into this really weird, bizarre, interesting
Journey.
Yeah, journey. Yeah. So we wrote down what we secretly gave this movie on this whiteboard, and I'm gonna guess, Jamie, that you gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Okay, I'm going to guess you gave it a 3.0.
Okay, 3.0. And we're gonna give our initial spoiler-free thoughts on the movie, and then we will reveal our scores. So, Jamie, was this a big, bold, beautiful movie?
This was mixed.
Okay.
Okay, so at the beginning, I remember thinking, this movie is a great example of how brilliant actors cannot always save a script. Particularly at the beginning of the movie, I felt like the writing was really weird and kind of all over the place.
Okay. But is that not kind of by design because of the concept? The concept itself is very weird.
I agree with that, but I think that it lost me too much. It didn't feel human enough.
Yeah.
We reviewed Anatomy of a Fall last week, and we talked a lot about like the humanity of that movie.
Yeah.
And I think this was just kind of missing that connecting point for me at the beginning. Now, towards the end, things do change a little bit, but we'll get into that later.
Okay.
What did you think?
Interesting. So I actually thought it went reverse for me, where in the
Interesting.
beginning it felt somewhat kind of believable, and because they haven't come across this bizarre journey yet.
You mean the rental car scene?
Okay, so now can I tell you my experience of watching this movie?
Yes, I can.
So
Yes.
I go to a Tuesday night showing, Discount Tuesdays, which is great. Theaters should continue doing that. So I show up. There's like one other couple there. Well, I'm by myself.
That's funny.
But-
That's funny.
So we sit down to watch the movie, and then like it's playing the trailers and stuff like that, and then like the lights turn down, but the projection just turns off.
Oh no.
Yeah, but then the audio keeps going.
No.
So we're like, what's going on? So the other guy, he went and then like told the person and whatever, but like I listened to the first like 25 minutes of the movie just audio only.
25?
Yeah. And then eventually they finally fixed it, but then they reset like to the beginning. But when it's restarted from the beginning, like the projector was like in a squeezed format. So I saw everything in
word.
what looked kind of like anamorphic, like squeezed. But I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just like watch it. But because of eventually it stretched out and it fixed like 20 minutes in.
Did you get a free ticket?
No,
Did you get a refund?
no, it was fine. It was,
Unbelievable.
I was already paying a discounted ticket, but I kind of missed how he gets into the car agency. So, this is the very beginning of the movie. So this is not spoilers, I don't think, right?
No, it's
He
very beginning.
He walks out of his apartment and
Yeah.
then he sees like a sign.
No, so his
Is
car...
his car booted?
Yeah, his car got booted,
Okay.
and so he sees a sign for a rental car company.
Agency. And then it just cuts to him in the rental
And then it cuts
agency?
to him going to get the rental car.
Okay. So yeah, that was like, it was bizarre because obviously this is not a normal rental car
Yeah.
agency, but it was also really funny. So I was like, okay, not knowing anything about the movie, I was like, okay, this is maybe the calm part of the rom-com.
Yeah.
So I still thought that was like within somewhat reasonable kind of reality.
Okay.
And then things keep happening where it gets more and more bizarre.
It gets so weird.
And then it gets really weird where you're just like, what's even real?
Yeah.
And so the more the movie went on and the reality never gets established in any sense of the word,
Yeah.
I think it kind of lost humanity for me because I actually have some theories that we'll talk about in spoilers about
Okay.
what my understanding of what could potentially be happening.
Yes.
And so that actually kind of like took me out of it.
So it's interesting that we had such opposite views. So like for me, once I accepted that this movie was just magical realism, I was able to kind of suspend my disbelief and just accept it. Like, okay, they're not going to explain how any of this works, and I'm just going to like live in that reality. And like that is how magic realism as a genre is.
Yeah.
So that didn't bother me so much towards the end, but at the beginning it was really just like you're asking too much of me. Like that's how I felt at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, you're asking me to suspend a lot of disbelief right up front, and I feel really lost and confused.
Yeah, and
But-
I agree with the magical realism because this movie, as I was watching it, did remind me of other movies. Like Eternal Sunshine came to mind a lot. On their journey, they're revisiting moments of their past through these kind of mysterious doors that they go through, right? In Eternal Sunshine, them kind of going through past memories of their relationship and things like that. So that kind of had a similarity. But even within something like Eternal Sunshine or I don't know, Big Fish is like fantasy kind of world. And, these kinds of things, there's still somewhat of a consistent, like what is real, what is magic, and how it all kind of fits together. But in this movie, it was like the real stuff seems like very real. And then it just suddenly switches to like this really out there, bizarre kind of stuff.
Yeah.
With them not even really, like, because even the characters, they'll be like, did that just happen? And then they just like move on,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so it's that kind of like duality that they're trying to like play both sides
Yeah.
without any really explanation to the audience of like, this is how this works within this world.
Right. They don't
Because-
do a lot of world building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because in Eternal Sunshine, you're like, there's a contraption that explains how
Yeah.
they're getting into their memories. And, and then you're fully like, they're going in and out of memories and all this kind of stuff. Or even like being John Malkovich, right? Like, it's a bizarre setup, but at least it's explained like this is how we're teleporting into his like brain.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking of like other magical realism examples. I guess they're more close to like a sci-fi, but the Korean movie that you told me about.
Oh, yeah, The Beauty Inside. Yeah, The
They
Beauty Inside.
never explain like where his ability comes from. They never explain that stuff. That you just kind of accept it. Like that's just like.
Maybe.
But that is a simpler rule. That is a simpler
It is.
concept.
It is. But also, like, he goes through a lot of grappling with what is happening and him trying to make sense of it all
That's fair.
and trying to explain
fair.
it to other people who
Yeah.
don't believe him.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like,
You just accept it.
yeah, there's like
You
no attempt to do that at all.
Yeah.
There's like one passing comment, and then it's just like, okay, now this is what we're doing.
I've definitely read more books in this genre than
Oh,
movies.
interesting.
I think that
So-
it is a lot harder to do as a movie form,
Okay.
which is why I kept thinking this was based on a book because it feels like a book.
Yeah.
Because in a movie form, you do kind of have to have more of a proof of concept almost. You have to have more explanation for those weird out of world experiences.
Yeah, because you're watching something physical.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to know what is grounded in reality and what isn't.
Yeah.
And if it's all not reality, that's fine. It's
Right.
just give us some kind of bearing. But it's just happening, and you're just like, okay, I don't know where I'm at any point. Kind
It's
of
hard to
thing.
connect.
Yeah.
It's hard to connect
Yes.
to the characters.
Yes. I think that's ultimately what suffered. Is the
Yeah.
emotional connection to the characters.
Right.
And I have a little more to say on that when we get into spoilers. But, Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie, I don't remember them being in a rom-com together or a romance kind of movie together.
No.
What did you think of them, like, individually and their chemistry together? Did you think it worked?
Well, like I said at the beginning, I think they're both fantastic
Mm-hmm.
actors. Like I love them both. I love Colin Farrell in Bruges.
Mm-hmm.
He just won the Emmy for Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
Margot Robbie, I've loved her since I, Tonya, basically. Seeing the two of them, I thought they did a really good job with the script they were given.
Mm.
I still think they couldn't save it.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think especially Colin Farrell couldn't save it because his character I had some issues with his arc and
Okay.
maybe his character and all that kind of stuff we can unpack later. But he did the best he could, I think, with the script that he was given.
Yeah.
Now, Margot Robbie, I think she did a really good job. And I was much more able to connect with her character and her performance. And maybe that's because her character was better fleshed out in the script. That might be why. But in terms of the chemistry, I kind of had moments of, kind of buying their chemistry at points and other times not. So it was kind of like a little mixed, but overall, I think the two of them did a good job in terms of their like acting.
Yeah.
And most of the performances were pretty solid.
I liked their banter. Like a lot of their scenes where they're just kind of bantering with each other, sort of joking.
Mm-hmm.
I thought those were really well done.
Yeah. And, I think like the concept itself was really interesting. Like, I will say this movie was bold. Like it did go for it, and
it was kind of beautiful. The visuals were pretty.
You're right. Yes, they were. These kind of portals into their past memories, and like one of the ones that was like really poignant, I think, was like them revisiting hard kind of times that they've experienced.
Yeah,
and so
past.
like for example, like going to your high school years and being afraid of like this person that you're kind of dating or interested in kind of seeing like you in your high school years in like a bad moment or in a really embarrassing moment, Yeah, like I could definitely relate to how that would be terrifying to have to revisit or have someone watch as you're revisiting. What was your worst high school memory?
Oh.
What
me on the spot.
What would be behind your door?
I've blocked most of high school out.
Yeah. I think similar to the movie, I was able to definitely relate to being totally your heart ripped out, rejection, professing your love to a girl that you like think you love or whatever, and just getting totally like rejected. And maybe there were people around, I don't remember. Like, so that whole kind of depiction in the movie, I was like, yeah, I've been there. Wouldn't want to revisit that again. Yeah.
That's so sad. I never did anything crazy in high school. I was pretty I played it safe. Didn't take risks.
Didn't go on a bold journey.
Nope.
I think the other thing I would say maybe before we reveal scores is this is directed by Kogonada. I didn't realize that I had seen two of his previous movies.
Which ones?
Columbus and After Yang. I probably enjoyed it, I think, to some level. But I do remember for After Yang, I really didn't like it. Like, the concept was interesting, but like the execution of the characters and stuff like that, I just didn't really connect to them.
Yeah.
And it feels very similar to this. Like, I like the concept. I like the kind of idea of what he's going for.
Yeah.
And as we unpack, like, potentially what the meaning of those things could be, like, later, like, that was the most fun part of the movie for me.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I couldn't really connect with the characters. Like, I was never really rooting for them which I think is, like, absolutely pivotal in a rom-com. If nothing else, like, you need to be able to, like, wholeheartedly want this couple to, like, get together.
Yeah.
Right?
In this movie, I think I was rooting more for them individually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That
Not
makes
as
sense.
a couple.
You're right.
So anyway, should we go ahead and reveal our scores
Yeah.
so we can talk about that more?
Okay, so you thought I'll give it a 3.0 out of 5, and I did give it a 3.0 out of 5.
Me too.
Okay. So I was actually between a 3 and a 2.5.
Yeah.
Like, really, really split.
That's actually exactly where I thought
Really?
you were.
Oh, really?
I was like, he either gave it a 3 or a 2.5. One of those.
And I was like, I don't know which way to go. I think depending on what our discussion, how the spoiler discussion unfolds, I was like, maybe it could go lower. Oof. So if you were lower on it, it might bring me down lower.
That makes sense.
But before we get into spoilers, like, would you recommend the movie or not?
I don't think I would.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same spot.
Because there are too many caveats I'd have to give. Like, if I were to recommend it, I'd have to give them, like, a list. But this isn't great, and this isn't great. But you should still watch it. Like, I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I wouldn't really recommend this. Even though it's a 3.0, it's like a weak 3.0.
Yeah. There are some reasons that it's not lower for me, though, and I think it's because like Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell still do a good job, in my opinion, and the visuals were really pretty. There were some like really nice shots, and I thought the production design with the color was amazing. Like, there's this whole hospital scene that's like all different hues of yellow, and it's just like really pretty to look at. That being said, like the actual story, I think is what suffered.
I think if you guys do watch this movie, don't think of it as like a rom-com.
It's don't think that's a good
It's really
caveat.
more of like an art film kind of. Yeah. So
kind of exploring, like, honestly, it's kind of like Midnight in Paris in that way.
okay, I didn't watch that, but
Oh, dang it.
yeah.
Well, because there's this weird magical realism thing that happens.
Oh, interesting.
But it's kind of about like his journey, his own
it's a
personal journey.
Yeah, because it's a Woody Allen movie, right? So it's not like a typical rom-com.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar. If you actually, maybe if you like Midnight in Paris, you might like this. I don't know. This is maybe less artsy, but yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. We'll get into spoilers. So if you haven't watched it and you do end up watching it, you can come back and join us for that discussion. But
Yes.
I do think the fun part of this is like trying to understand what is, in the full spoilers, what was the whole deal with the GPS, like guiding them and
No clue.
all the doors, and they're just suddenly back in whatever. And yeah, just, whoa.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's dying.
It's dying.
All right, stabilize.
Action. Well, our light went out, so we look a little different, but it's okay. We're gonna keep rolling.
Yeah, I think there's something weird about this movie. You know, when I went to watch it in the theater, it wigged out my projector.
Oh my gosh,
that now
you're
we're trying to
cursed.
record. I
You're
know.
cursed.
Maybe I should give this movie a higher rating because it's actually like bleeding into my reality.
Whoa, you're gonna have to walk through some doors.
Yeah.
I think where we were at was going into spoilers,
Yes.
and I think you were about to talk about
Yeah, the theories.
the theories
So-
about the GPS.
Yeah, I think with all the GPS and the doors, I don't know. What was your take on all of that? What do you have any kind of theory, or is it just the whole magical realism? It's just it's exactly
Yeah.
what it seems at face value.
As I kind of said in the beginning, like, I was trying really hard to figure out what it all meant, and I was like, okay, what's the plot twist gonna be? Like, they're gonna have an explanation at the end for this, and then halfway through the movie, I was like, they're not gonna explain this, so I
Yeah.
just gave up trying to come up with a theory. So I don't really have a theory.
Okay.
Curious to hear yours.
I thought that one theory could potentially be that they're actually sitting in couples counseling, and all this is just like a kind of visual representation of all the things that they're talking through about kind of tracking their relationship.
It does have a lot of therapy motifs. Yeah.
And because they're each talking through different things and their experiences, their upbringing, their kind of issues that they have with their parents and all that kind of
I
stuff.
actually really like that. That's interesting.
It is like re-exploring kind of traumatic moments in high school and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of one idea. But I thought as the movie went on, that theory got weaker because it wasn't so much about, you know, like a couple that's established and them kind of being able to like work through things to move forward. It was really about a couple meeting for the first time and just getting to the point of starting a relationship.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it,
I actually think it does hold up
Really?
because when they do that whole thought experiment of imagining if they had gone to the wedding together, like they were an established couple,
yeah,
like that makes a lot of sense.
Like-
where it's like that was maybe the reality, and everything else has sort of just been an imaginative exercise.
yeah. And in that moment, they're both sitting side by side, looking down on the earth. Mm-hmm. So kind of potentially looking down on themselves.
I like this take. And at the end, I thought of the like your inner child therapy, because he literally is pretending to be his dad in one of the final scenes, and he's talking to his child self.
like kind of doing a role play.
Yeah, which is what you do. Like a lot of
yeah.
therapists do. They make you like kind of address your younger selves and forgive them. because you can see how ashamed and embarrassed he is to like have to go talk to himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Ooh, you're so cringy." Like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
And it's funny how like towards the end of that scene he kind of is able to forgive his past self or whatever. Forgive his younger self. So there's a lot of therapy elements that like you're absolutely right.
Okay. Well, I kind of was hoping that that would be clearer, but it just seemed like, since the movie doesn't really give you anything, I didn't feel like by the end of the film that I felt like that still held that well. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you think it works, then that's one possible theory.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The other one is more of a straightforward interpretation of the movie, which is the journey is a metaphor for a relationship or their relationship, right?
Yeah.
And when you meet somebody, like the thing could be like what's reality is like them getting to the wedding ceremony and then they end up talking, and maybe the whole rest of the movie is just a visual representation of like them just still getting to know each other at that wedding. So like they're sitting at a table or at a bar or something. And really like when you think about when you meet someone for the first time and you're kind of potentially interested in them, or maybe even with friendship in general, like a lot of the way that you kind of get to know each other is like you kind of catch them up on your life.
You do story swaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, that is kind of a journey through time. And so this whole like they're on a GPS is like almost like, mini cartoon versions of them, cutscene, they're on this thing representing the conversation that's happening.
Yeah.
And that's why when they go to the doors, like it all just kind of, they just go with it.
Yeah.
And they step right into all these different rooms or memories. And just jump kind of from one to the next. And they take turns alternating. So it kind of feels like a conversation in a way. So I think that's like more of a straightforward, just the journey is a metaphor of a relationship kind of theory. I think the one that I feel the strongest about is that they are actually just actors. And this is an acting, like theater exercise. I think the film gives us some clues to that because randomly in the third act, like it starts cutting to them on stage, or it wasn't even in the third act. It's like when they're going through the whole like him in High School Musical, like they're kind of like role playing, or there's like the scene where they're at like, was it like a bus stop or something? And then there's like the doors and they're just like standing out there. So there's like some set pieces, but.
And then the car agency is treating it like an audition.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that makes sense of the car agency because even they have the headshots and then so what it would be is that these are two actors who are auditioning and they don't know each other. And then they're coming before like the casting
director.
Yeah, the casting director, where they have their headshots and then they're basically role playing.
Yeah.
For like this audition. And in that they're getting to know each other. And it's like an improv style thing where they're kind of like throwing things out there and they're having to like riff off of that. So like different memories, and maybe some of that's taken from their personal, like actually what happened, and maybe other parts aren't, but they're constantly having to like adjust and kind of react to each other's like different things that they're creating. And they're having to keep the improv going.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
And then at the very end, did you stay for the credits? There's like a quick thing where it shows them on stage again and they're like dancing, like, when they kind of get together, right? So I don't know. I think there's something there. Now, the whole theater thing could also be just a metaphor within the metaphor.
Right.
Which is and this is the part of the movie that just frustrates me is that like it gives you some things to kind of think about, and there's
feel artistic.
Yeah, and there's a cool concept, but you don't know if it's an artistic kind of flair that's being used or if it's like a realism thing within the context of the world.
It's kind of like throwing paint at the wall, seeing what sticks, sort of. That's how it feels. Where it's like a lot of things were thrown at the wall. We'll just leave a lot of what sticks up to the audience interpretation. That's how I felt a little bit.
So you don't think the director actually had like a clear thought in his mind of what he was intending it to be?
He probably did, but I feel like it's so open-ended that there are many possible interpretations. The fact that you just came up with 3.
Yeah. And I don't mind the movie that goes there like that, right? But I want the movie to kind of at least confirm or deny, like, is
The
this kind of what's
reality.
happening?
Yeah,
Like,
fair.
if it is just open-ended kind of artistic representation and the
Yeah.
reality is, that they're just like just the
People.
beginning part,
Yeah.
then that's fine. But like, give us some clues as to like that being the case.
I think your therapy theory is the strongest.
Interesting.
Because it is, in a way, you do that during therapy too. You do like the improv role play type things.
Yeah.
And you do have to sort of perform to get to the truth. Is that what she said? I can't remember the line at the beginning. But
We all like are performing.
to get to the truth,
Yeah.
to get to the honesty. And so I think there is an element that fits therapy for each beat of the story. And then I think the hitting the deer, even, that kind of helps, because you always hit sort of like a roadblock, everything seems to like feel like it's falling apart, but that really means you've made a breakthrough. So I think your theory is strong, and it's like
But-
making me like kind of see the movie through a different lens.
I mean, but if that was the case, give us one shot. Maybe in the credits, instead of the theater them dancing together in the empty theater,
Have them in a therapy room.
have them just sitting side by side
Dude,
on a
that'd be an
couch.
insane plot twist.
Like
Like you're just watching the movie, and then all of a sudden
and
they're
you
like
don't-
in therapy, and
Yeah,
you're like,
and you don't need to even explain. Yeah, like you don't even need to make it clear that they're in therapy. Like you could just have them sitting side by side in what would be typical in a therapy session. But don't
Yeah.
even show the person
therapist.
the therapist. So, like, just give us a little something to latch onto. Like
That-
here, there's just nothing to
that would
latch
have been
onto.
cool. That would have been a cool way to end it. Just like blow your mind.
Yeah.
Kinda. But maybe some people would have hated that. I don't know.
And this is why, like, at the end of the day, I didn't connect to the characters, because as the movie went on, I thought the theater thing was like maybe the strongest theory or
Yeah.
explanation. And in that case, like, they're not even really themselves. They're just role playing.
Okay.
And it's like an improv like exercise, like they're just coming up with
Yeah.
these characters. And so it's not even about like these two actual single people like
it's
falling
just
in love
actors.
together. Yeah, they're just playing like a scene. And so then I was like, I don't even care what happens to them,
Yeah, I felt that too. I felt that like disconnect the whole time, where I was like, I don't really care if they succeed or not. I thought it was interesting how they decided to unpack both of their difficulties in relationships. So David struggles to find the perfect one because his, I guess, childhood wound is that he was told he was special his whole life. And so he is constantly looking for perfection. And then her whole wound is, I mean, she had a lot of wounds.
Yeah.
And so she never had a good male role model in her life. And so she constantly hurts men before they can hurt her. And I thought it was interesting how the two of them were kind of polar opposites. And you see that in the coffee shop scene where I actually really liked that scene where they had the two sort of exes
Yeah. That was cool.
demanding that they like tell the truth about why they did the things they did. He is constantly looking for the perfect person and clearly enjoys the hunt more than the actual reward.
Yeah.
And then she is the exact opposite, because she is constantly looking for the reward, but then as soon as the reward, I guess, gets to be too big, she runs away.
Yeah.
They're able to understand each other's wounds and then sort of like overcome them together.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. I don't know. And I also think like it's interesting because I feel like men in relationships, like that does tend to be a stereotype that men are, hunters, and then once they find their match, they sort of like give up.
Yeah, or they don't try as
They
hard.
don't try
It's
as
kind
hard.
of like
the wooing phase is over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with women, it's more the opposite, where once they have it, they're more. And we talked about this with the Blue Valentine movie, right? you know, the male character he says like men are more romantic
Yeah.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is an element of, you know, once that woman makes the choice to be with the man, like then the woman takes over as the wooer
Mm-hmm.
in some stereotypical ways.
Yeah, like the woman is trying to continue to maintain the eye of affection of the husband, or when
And I thought it was interesting that she was constantly leaving before that could happen on purpose, because she, I guess, knew that the man would stop trying to. I don't know. That's what I was thinking about as I was watching it. It's like,
I mean, I thought that I agree with you that the exit scene, the way that they start separate and then they kind of like end up together and then they're talking across each other, but all like kind of having a conversation together, was really well done.
Yeah.
The way it's shot, the way it's written, it was really good. It reminded me of like Materialists and how some of those conversations among couples, and they're talking about these couple dynamics.
Yes.
And like how men and women are different in the way they seek and pursue like relationships and love. I thought Materialist was done so much better.
I agree.
Yeah. But I think in terms of, yes, there are some interesting dynamics being talked about in terms of gender roles in relationships. But like you said earlier, I think this movie leaned more heavily into their individual like kind of journeys and their baggage.
Yeah.
And they are polar opposites, but I didn't really feel like, I felt like the weight of it was more about what they were going through individually.
Mm-hmm.
And with Sarah, I understood, like she had an absent dad. She lost the only person who ever really truly unconditionally loved her, which was her mom, right? At an early age. And so, you know, she's kind of like afraid of being abandoned, and so she's gonna run away before that happens to her, right? But with the David, Colin Farrell's character, it didn't really connect for me, because like, okay, you've been told you're special your whole life. He finds out that, oh, it's because he was like a preemie, and so they kind of saw him this way, but he takes it as a curse, right? Like his whole life he's been told he's going to be this great, amazing person, and then life is like very ordinary for him.
Well, I think it's because he's a perfectionist. Like his parents they clearly kept him very safe.
Yeah.
Because he was born in such a, you know, so
Difficult
they really
situation,
protected him from the world. They protected him so much that like when he finally entered the real world, he crashed and burned. I think he says something like that.
Okay.
And so then he is constantly trying to like get back to that hope. It's a hopeless romantic thing where he's constantly trying to get back to that like life or ideal of perfection and being special again. And so yeah, his wound is more tricky. It's not like on the nose, like your mom died and your dad's horrible.
Yeah.
It's more like simple.
Okay. Well, then I think that's a really well like stated explanation, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think then what didn't connect for me was the arc, because like for Sarah, after all of that, she finally gets the piece of wisdom from her mom that's like, everyone's chasing happiness, but you'll drive yourself crazy chasing happiness.
Yeah, content.
Yeah. And you have to learn to be content first, and then enjoy the little bits of happiness that you get, right?
That was good. That was a good moment.
Yeah, it was good. And I think like for Sarah, it made sense why she's now able to come back and be willing to risk this relationship. Because I guess like for her, it wasn't that she was chasing happiness. She was afraid of happiness, right?
Yeah.
Because she knows like how fleeting it could be. She saw how it left her mom alone. But for David, like, he's like, okay, well, I've been told I'm special my whole life, and it sets you up for failure in your life. And then in the end, like, he looks at his younger self and he tells him, you're special. So I was kind of like, you're just like perpetuating. It's kind of like Memento, you know? Like you just keep the lie going because it feels good in the moment. Like maybe it's like, now I understand where my parents were coming from, why they like treated me this way. But and then he says this whole thing where he's like, life is better when you're hoping. He knows that it's a kind of dead end, but he's going to continue to pursue that hopeless thing that's going to always leave him unsatisfied and empty. And that's what drives him to continue to pursue Sarah. You know, so like his character, his motivation for pursuing her and confessing his love for her didn't really make sense to me
Huh.
with whatever journey he went on. Like, it didn't seem like he really learned anything important.
Interesting.
At least
Okay.
for me.
Yeah, I
Did I
think-
miss something here?
No, I think those elements were there. I think he says that line, "You're special," at the end, and it's confusing because you're kind of like, wait, isn't the lesson that he learned is that he's not that special
Yeah.
or whatever? But I think the heart behind
And to be
it,
okay with it, right?
yeah, but I think the heart behind it is more to do with like, you're special and you can accept that, but also hope is still an important thing to have. You know, like hope is still something that drives you. So it's like, let go of the perfectionism, but hold on to the hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she models that for him a little bit. I think Sarah kind of like shows him how you can be very imperfect, because she lays out in total honesty like how imperfect she is, and he sees her vulnerability as a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he mostly learns from her. She learns on her own, basically, in my opinion, like what you just laid out. She learns from this whole experience how to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
He learns from her modeling.
Interesting.
That
Okay.
was like kind of the takeaway I had.
Okay.
Like
That-
her imperfection is okay, and he can love her in spite of all that. Yeah.
And so that's kind of like his breakthrough, because he's not chasing the one anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does kind of still leave you to, well, he thought he had the one last time, and
Yeah.
he ended up leaving her because he lost interest.
Another reason I thought that they kind of learned from each other is at the end they switch colors. So she's bright red the whole entire movie and he's
Yeah.
blue.
Uh-huh.
And then at the very end he's wearing bright red and she's wearing blue.
Oh, at the
At the very last scene
At
with
the
the door.
steps?
Yeah.
oh, I
So they
missed that.
switched colors, and I think
Ooh,
that
good
was
catch.
showing or demonstrating that they had learned from each other and were almost kind of switching places. Yeah.
Or it's symbolizing that now in the audition they are reversing roles and have to play it in reverse.
Anyway,
So, but that's why it really works to me. It almost, instead of a rom-com, if like Sarah was just the protagonist, I think this could have really worked a lot better because it's just really from her perspective. And then she meets this guy. He has this kind of thing that he's done in the past, yet she still comes to this point where she's willing to like risk it, you know?
yes and no, because I think the whole problem with both of them is that they both suck at relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to have the relationship be there, be a part of it. I don't know.
Equal weighted kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would say this movie had a lot of interesting ideas,
Yes.
but it was very unclear and confusing.
Not super well executed.
This was a big, bold, confusing movie journey.
That's going to be the thumbnail.
Yeah. Because it was bold and therefore kind of big.
Yeah.
Ish. And it was a journey. But I think that there are, like, the concept is interesting, but it feels underbaked.
Yeah.
There are a lot of interesting ideas, like hope and rejection and acceptance and life and disappointment and all these kinds of
Contentedness.
things. Yeah. But none of them truly feels like the through line
Yeah.
that you kind of can latch to other things and connect it to.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I guess it is kind of like you said, like a bunch of stuff thrown at the wall, and
Yeah.
kind of you walk away with what you like, you know. And in that sense, it's kind of like an art piece. It's kind of like a painting, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like everyone sees something different in it.
I think, in fairness, too, I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie, and I was like, I don't think it deserves that. It was like a 39 or something.
Whoa, is that critic or audience?
Critic. 39%. I'm like, this is...
Yeah,
That's a little unfair. It was better than that.
I think in its
It's
aspirations,
at least a 60. I don't know.
I think it's at least a 50. I think in its aspirations,
Yeah.
it was trying to do things. Now, maybe a lot of critics were like, yeah, it utterly failed, and so I hated it. I could understand that, but I think it still deserves some credit in trying to do something different, right? Like, if this was just, I thought that, the poster, it's like Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie, and, a very colorful looking poster. I'm like, this is just going to be like a simple, straightforward rom-com. And maybe it would have done better as that.
Yeah.
But like he tried to do something different. Yeah, that's I think why I'm mixed. If you want an exploration into kind of gender roles and stuff like within relationships, go watch Materialist.
Yeah.
If you want an exploration on hope and life and stuff, go watch Shawshank Redemption.
Or Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah, or if you want like a thing into like a good concept, of a relationship, like yeah, that's fantastical. Go watch Eternal Sunshine. So it like all those are better versions of this that focused on one of the areas really well.
Sure.
Let us know how you made sense of the madness, the crazy mess, beautiful mess. Jason Mraz, shout out.
You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Letterboxd, or Apple Podcasts.
And join us next week as we... Oh, no, actually, not next week.
Join us in 2 weeks.
Yeah, as we continue our quest for the 5th star.